What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Nena, and we're returning to the 1985 English language album, It's All in the Game, and the next track is Are You Awake? Which feels like the kind of phrase that could, of course, have more literal meanings, the idea of lying with someone in bed and wondering if they're actually awake, and asking them, which, of course, if they answer, they are. But I feel like maybe this could be more awake in a sense of, are you aware of what's going on around you? Are you daydreaming? Are you blind to the things in society or culture or of the times as we're experiencing them? Of course, it could be functioning on multiple levels, making reference to if someone is literally or physically awake, but also speaking to a broader or more figurative sense of the term. Once again, we do have lyrics on the inner sleeve, so I will check those. Let's give it a listen. This is Nena from the album It's All in the Game, and the track is Are You Awake? Let's make sure we have it on the correct side. favorite one from the album so far, and I say that lyrically and vocally. Now, again, I get it, and sonically, which includes the vocals, but I get it. What is it, Debello? There's someone who's taking the German lyrics and rendering them into English, so of course the lines won't be identical, or I suppose in some cases closer to a literal reading than others, but either way, I love the lyrics on this one as I caught them. But first, the sonics. So there's two scales of the tune, meaning there's sections where it's more minimal, more stripped down, and we're really focused on Nena's vocals, but then there's these big flourishes and multiple ingredients. Like we have these drum percussion rhythms which feel both proper drum set drums, which flourish very powerfully, but then also these hand drums that stand out more in the more stripped down sections. I was noticing them in particular in the beginning. So I'm assuming these are like natural drums, but of course it's the 80s, this could be drum machine. Either way, I enjoy the percussive rhythms and flourishes, as I said. Then we have what sounded like a xylophone run at some point. We have these big celestial keyboard chords. There was a synth string, I'm assuming, but like a string line that was running through, not like a tension string, but very understated, but supportive of the overall atmosphere. There's a bit of that mid-80s funky sound to some of the moments along the way, but also sounding very synth rock. Definitely some guitar flourishes in the latter stages of the tune that stood out to me, but all of it coming together really well, and as I said, making me think about the big flourishes in terms of the musical composition, but then also allowing the lines and the vocals to stand out in those more stripped down moments, which I'm guessing essentially are the verses. But really clever songwriting and I guess song translation. And that, okay, so at first I was wondering, like, is the guy actually there? Because she's talking about the rooms, plural, taking on the characteristics or being imbued with the essence of this male partner, and I wondered, oh, is he not there anymore? But it sounds like he is very much there, and so she's talking to him in a situation where she feels like, oh, my inhibitions have slid away. Now it sounds like they're making love, and then they go to sleep, and while she thinks he's asleep, she suddenly feels more at ease expressing her emotions. So maybe there's a difficulty speaking to him directly when it's very clear they're both awake looking at each other. So they have this physical connection, they have this physical intimacy, but her emotional honesty and transparency and intimacy must be stifled by or prevented by her own insecurities when they're both awake. But when he is asleep, or at least she thinks he's asleep, she starts talking about her emotions more clearly, more directly, and seemingly checking the situation by saying, "Are you awake?" and then letting it all out. But then there's a moment where she says, "Oh, and maybe you've been awake this whole time as I've been talking." So I don't know if that's, again, sort of in her head saying, "Oh, maybe this is actually getting across to you," or whether she's really suddenly unsure. And then it sounds like there's moments where he turns to her and he is in fact awake, speaking against her, his voice vibrating against her skin, and perhaps reciprocating emotions in a way that suddenly they're making a connection on a deeper level emotionally that she maybe didn't think was possible, again, in an overtly awake, open, one-to-one setting, more naturally, shall we say. So it's like they are actually coming to a better understanding of each other emotionally in a situation where it's like she's shooting her emotions out while she thinks he's incapable of hearing her. But then it's like he's saying, "Oh, and if you heard the things I'm saying, you'd probably wonder, is she talking in her sleep?" So there's a little bit of ambiguity as to whether he is actually asleep, and it sounds like there's different moments where the reality, or at least her perception of that, is varying. So again, we do have lyrics here in the inner sleeve, which are only slightly small enough that it becomes difficult to read, but I do think I've been able to get through it with a little bit of difficulty, so we'll try to do it here. So, oh, and in fact, I do have a cell phone available, which using the light makes this a little bit easier so I don't have to strain, so I apologize for my eyes as they get older, but here we go. So, a quarter after midnight, definitely heard that as the setting, which, and again, I'm a bit of a night owl, nocturnal, so for me, a little bit after midnight is perhaps not as functionally late as it is for most people, but we can assume this is after they've had their physical intimacy and are now bedding down for sleep. But a quarter after midnight, I'm half past out of reason. I like half past out of reason. That's clever because, again, half past, it's usually a time measurement, 1:30, 1:30 midnight. But here she's suddenly using that phrasing to speak about her own sense of understanding, her own emotional clarity. So I'm half past out of reason. Our bodies still intertwine from making love, very direct. While you're asleep, I tell you what I'm thinking of. In our apartment, all the rooms have taken on your personality. The living room has overshadowed me. I feel as restless as these bedroom sheets. Woof. That's great writing. And again, translation, seemingly. My inhibitions disappear. Suddenly the words escape, and I make believe you're listening. So I say, parenthetically, baby, are you awake? So she's pretending that he is, in fact, hearing her, but as far as she knows, he's actually sleeping. So it is oh, I pretend that you're awake and hearing me, knowing that you're not, but that game that I'm playing really allows me to let it all out in a way that I cannot in other situations. So my concentration flutters like a candle's temperamental flame. Again, great writing. Can't talk to you, can't tell you, can't share this little hell with you. Woof. I didn't catch that line, this little hell with you. So again, she clearly is feeling stifled and a bit frustrated that she can't let out what seems like she would like to tell him. And so after they make love and he's off to sleep and she puts herself in this situation where it's like she's talking to him, but in a way that allows her to be more open, she's saying, this is not ideal for me, this is not perfect, in fact, it's a little hell. You're slipping through my fingers, definitely heard that, I'm falling from your arms. So she feels uncertain as to her status, and in fact not just uncertain, but she feels like the connection is weakening. He's getting farther away from her figuratively, but using physical intimacy expressions to make that case or to represent her feeling. And when I whisper all the secrets that I keep, you probably think I'm talking in my sleep. My inhibitions disappear, suddenly the words escape, and I make believe you're listening. I say, baby, are you awake? You reach for me and call my name and softly breathe against my skin, your voice is echoing familiar sentences. Oh, you've been listening to every word I said. So it's like she is like, oh, whoops, he actually is awake. And it sounds like the way he responds is like, hey, you're thinking too much about this, or I'm not as far away as you're worried about. At least that's what comes across there. All my inhibitions disappear, suddenly the words escape, and I make believe you're listening. I say, baby, are you awake? Baby, are you awake? Baby, are you awake? So I think it's still a bit ambiguous what his feelings are, but if that last paragraph reads correctly in terms of his view of the situation, it sounds like he's trying to reassure her, maybe again with a physical gesture more than a direct verbal confirmation, although it sounds like he is again speaking against her in a very intimate way, and that's reverberating through her both bodily and mentally and emotionally. So it sounds like she's perhaps worrying too much and feeling like he's farther away than he's trying to indicate he is. But yes, so I suppose it's about emotional insecurity. It's about not quite knowing where you stand, even as you make love physically, and thus being worried that maybe there's a disconnect between one type of intimacy and another. But yes, the lines very creatively and poetically put together. So I assume shout out to the original lyrics by Nena, shout out to the English lyrics by DeBello. Am I getting that right? But yeah, that was a really cool one sonically and musically. Probably my favorite so far. I wonder what you think. Let me know, and I will see you next time. Peace.